Hey everybody! My name is Josh Kumler. Thank you all so much for coming out to Election Edition, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Hillary 2016.
Okay, no, not actually that election, Brigham. The city municipal elections.
What?
It's city council. There's 6 incumbents that are being termed out, and there's 2 more that face opponents, plus the mayor is up for re-election. That means in a city government with 15 seats, over half could change hands. This will profoundly affect decisions made in City Hall for the next 4 years.
So, Democrats. Woo! Democrats.
It's actually not that simple because there are no party designations in local politics, so you have to actually get to know the candidates in order to know where they stand.
That sounds really boring.
Well, then drink more. Because we've got our bar politics correspondents out in the field at every contested district in the city as they are represented by these bar tables. So, if you were wondering about the aimless arrangement of numbers, well, it's as arbitrary and confusing as the city of Dallas itself. Because, as you probably can't tell from this map, what we've tried to do is recreate actual geography here. So, I'm in the southwest corner, so I've got District 8 here with me. We got Districts 10 and 9 up in the north, and we've got District 2 in the beating, bleeding heart of the city. So give it up for Deep Ellum. Give it up for Twilite Lounge. And give it up for yourselves for coming out tonight, because it is time to better know a neighborhood. We start in District 10, where sexy news lady Elizabeth Berkman has a steamy tale of seduction out of Lake Highlands. Elizabeth?
Your objectification is unappreciated, Josh. But it is true. Beyond the neighborhood associations and great school districts that make up Lake Highlands, and behind the glossy family photos that make up each candidate's websites, lies a storyline that's ripe for an episode of The Bachelorette, with 3 men all vying for the affections of the one they like to call Big D. First, there's Paul Reyes. He's got the flashiest website, and he's also got the biggest pocketbook.
And I want to spend it all on you, baby.
As of airtime, Reyes has raised $48,075 for his campaign. But sources say that some of that money came from the Austin-based family of former state senator John Corona, as well as Austin-based political advocacy groups and out-of-state supporters.
I told you not to check my text, boo!
Whatever. The next contestant on Big D Bachelorette is Adam Magoo, the most experienced of the 3, with over 10 years of, quote, helping to make Dallas a better, safer place.
I was the mayor's chief of staff, but you can just call me the chief. Baby.
Ooh. Magoo's children. Ooh, excuse me. Let me get my script out. Everybody take a drink, because I forgot my line. Hey! Our second contestant, but interestingly enough, it isn't clear if he was actually living in Dallas when he was helping to make it a better, safer place. He announced his candidacy in January, just after his children switched schools from Highland Park to a private school in Lake Highlands. And he's been using a condo in Lake Highlands since 2012 to get around Highland Park's residency requirements for its school district.
I'm through with that lifestyle, baby. I'll change. I'll sell the condo.
Not exactly loyal to the love of Big D. And finally, the last contestant on the Big D Bachelorette is James White. The only candidate who opposes the Trinity toy and is the owner of a rescue dog.
I like long hours. I like long hours at the library.
And I'm already
and
bored.
organizing. Oh, all right.
With, by far, the least amount of money raised of the three, White is primed to fill the stereotypical role of nice guy who always finishes last.
Ooh.
But to see who receives the final rose on the Big D Bachelorette, you'll have to tune back in after May 9th for a special episode of The Candidates Tell All.
All right, well, we all certainly look forward to that. Eligible Bachelorette Elizabeth Berkman, ladies and gentlemen. And now we begin to move to the southeast, to District 9, where Chris McCreary has a report. Chris?
Thanks, Josh. District 9 right here, District 9. When I was given the assignment of District 9, I reasonably assumed, as would any one of you, that we were discussing the 2009 cinematic blockbuster, District 9, produced by Peter Jackson. Under Neil Blomkamp's adept and visionary direction, we follow the story of Wickes Vandermeer, a South African extraterrestrial immigration officer who's on patrol in District 9, a slum that's been allocated for a crash-landed alien species in Johannesburg, South Africa. While on patrol, Wickes is exposed to alien biotechnology. While he undergoes a transformation, we follow a story of love, loss, survival, and destiny. But as a strongly worded email I received this morning reminded me that this 2009 classic, nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, was not the assignment. It was District 9. Dallas City District 9. The one with the Arboretum. And White Rock Lake. The plants and shit. Not a single second of high-octane, edge-of-your-seat sci-fi action, but apparently hiking dogs and nature are important too. So let's get underway with the Bar Politics Dating Game!
Exciting.
Tonight we've got a little bitty that we like to call a District 9. This district stretches from Lakewood up to Merriman Park and University Manor, then pops over to Forest Hills and Little Forest Hills, including Casa View and Casa Linda, and just so happens to include the entirety of Lake Ray Hubbard. This district is bulging with 40 residents and just happens to have 5 eligible candidates vying for her seat. Ladies and gentlemen, it's District 9. So let's meet the candidates, shall we? Up first, we've got 47-year-old Darren Boroff. With an MBA from UTD, he was a park board representative, and the 3 most important issues he'd like to tackle would be 1, fight crime, 2, invest in parks, and 3, foster economic development. He spearheaded the lighting project for the White Rock Lake to improve safety. He's pro-Trinity Tollway, and is also he's VP of Ready Ice Holding, and is represented here by this actual bag of ice. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren. You need more ice? Darren Boroff.
Yeah.
Up next, our next candidate is pro-Trinity Parks, but anti-Trinity Tollway. Woo! We're talking about 47-year-old Mark Clayton. He holds... Calm down, ladies. With a BBA in marketing from Baylor, he owns Allstate Insurance on Gaston, as represented by such my wallet, since my car insurance is expensive as His first action would be to eliminate all funding for the Trinity Toll Road. Woo! Not that report. He'd increase funding for libraries and rec centers, and he'd shift additional manpower to the Neighborhood Plus program. He's an Angela Hunt admirer, not in that way, you creeps. So give it up for 47-year-old Mark Clayton. Up next, we've got Christopher Jackson. This 44-year-old real estate developer was the former vice chairman of Dallas Cultural Affairs. He wants to dredge White Rock Lake, separate bike traffic from automotive and foot traffic, and accelerate improvements to District 9's roads. He studied law at SMU, but shockingly is pro-Trinity Toll Road. Represented by this gentleman's hat, it's Christopher Jackson. Thank you, sir, for your participation. Up next, we've got 38-year-old former reporter for the Dallas Observer, Sam Merton, represented here by Dallas Observer, a very creative prop. He was the former top advisor and spokesman to current Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings. He works part-time at the Bridge Homeless Shelter, and he's anti-Trinity Toll Road. Well, mainly anti. Like, anti unless, like, the road is, like, super chill and, like, would show up to your house, would bring, like, a six-pack, not too much, but just enough to account for himself. If it was that kind of road, he might consider it. He's only lived in District 9 for 7 months, but hey, he wants to increase minimum wage to $10.25. It's Sam Merton. Now last, but certainly most not least, ladies and gentlemen, we've got 62-year-old Will Log. He's lived in District 9 for 30 years, he's a Vietnam veteran, and he's a blues guitarist better known as Will Smokey Log. When asked his stance on the Trinity Toll Road, his response was, and I quote, "I will say outright, and with no, it's complicated, predicating my statement that I personally do not support any roadway inside the levees." He wants to build a bird sanctuary in White Rock Lake, and is represented here by this actual Smokey Log. Ladies and gentlemen, 62-year-old Will Log. So now let's get on to those juicy questions. Now, candidates, if I was a pothole around White Rock Lake, what would you do to me? What's that? Really? I've just been informed that every single one of these candidates is happily married. So you can't date them, but you most certainly can vote for them coming May 9th. This has been a very successful episode of the Baller Politics Dating Game. I'm your host, Chris McCreary. Remember to spay and neuter your pets, and also rent the 2009 Classic District 9 available at your local Redbox. Josh?
Senior Peter Jackson enthusiast, Chris McCreary, everyone. Now continue to move south to District 7, where resident pessimist Ray Henninger has a report on Fair Park. Ray?
Josh, I think it's a little premature to call me a pessimist.
So are you the resident optimist now?
Well, you know, I'm a little better this week. Slept a bit more, went on a run, ate some greens.
Okay.
I'd recommend the same for anyone in the Dallas Morning News comment section.
Ah, yes. So, District 7.
Yeah, it looks great.
Really?
No, not at all. It's still poorer than anything north of 30, but there are some promise to some of these candidates.
Okay.
8 people are vying for this seat. 5 are over 50 and 3 are in their 30s. The older folks have served on every board and committee and are thoroughly experienced, but the younger candidates, Hassani Burton, Tiffany Young, and Baranda Furman, all 30, are something special. Despite their youth, each has something impressive record of civic engagement and equally impressive credentials.
Any red flags there?
Well, Baranda Furman is super pregnant.
You'd imagine it would be difficult enacting true reform being surrounded by petulant children who do nothing but cry and shit.
I know, and imagine having a kid of your own, too.
That's crazy.
Well,
who else? What else is going on?
Well, the big donations are all going to Tiffany Young, favorite of term-limited incumbents Dwayne Caraway and Carolyn Davis.
Okay.
She's raised $20,000 more than her competition, with $10,000 alone coming from a single address. All gifts from different people, of course. We wouldn't want to break any campaign finance rules.
No, we'll get to the mayoral race later. Any ideas on that address?
Well, yeah, actually, a little bit of Google sleuthing, smart sleuthing, shows that the listed address is for Amerisouth, a real estate company specializing in Class C multifamily development.
Okay, so that means, like affordable housing projects for people who can't necessarily afford the luxury development that is rampant throughout the city.
Exactly. It's a shame Amerisouth has no actual property holdings in their districts in which this election is in, though.
Huh.
Yeah, because real estate is such a major issue in this area. The privatization of Fair Park and whatever happens to it needs careful watch. Unfortunately, when it comes to redevelopment, the city has been a little directionless in the past.
Like when?
Well, take Behar Street. With all the best intentions for a historically dangerous but potentially lucrative part of town, the city, led by former District 7 Councilwoman Carolyn Davis, blew over $2 million on a failed redevelopment plan, led by a guy who didn't even have the credit to get a loan from the bank.
Ouch.
In fact, we actually spent $32,000 just on a consultant to get this guy a loan.
That's like paying a prostitute to help you talk to girls on Tinder.
It's an oddly specific metaphor there, Josh.
So what about the toll road?
Well, Burton and Furman are both against it. Young is the only one who won't openly say she's against it, and she's got that cautious way of saying really nothing at all.
And that's what makes a true frontrunner in this race?
That's what makes a true frontrunner in all of these races, Josh. Back to you.
And that's why you're still our resident pessimist, Ray Henninger, everyone. Also the composer of our theme song. And up next, got Stephen Gardner.
In Southeast Dallas,
Okay.
we find District 5.
That's my mic.
Home to our friendly neighborhood, Pleasant Grove. Known for its lowest number of city jobs, lowest percent of city tax values, highest percent of weird murders, and most misleading neighborhood name. In District 5, current city council member and real estate broker Rick Callahan is up for re-election against retired professor of early childhood education Sherry Cordova. The third candidate, Jesse Diaz, dropped out recently, making this intentionally drawn as a Latino district, set to be run by a white person for the next 2 years. Again. Because who run the world? That's right, old white people. But being old and white is in no way indicative of the issues most important to these candidates. Except, of course, for Callahan's seemingly crotchety approach to the stray dog issue, which has made its way to the top of many responses about the future of the district, a prominent place on his website, and several documented offhand comments at completely unrelated city council outings. A full disclosure of Callahan's stance on stray dogs can be found in his new book, Killing Snoopy, set to be released later this year. But apart from spaying these Scooby-Don'ts running around town, Callahan has advocated for an aggressive approach to the panhandling crisis through increased police presence, the shelter outreach programs, and something else. I forget. I don't know. Fuck it. I don't need the line.
Shelter out and crisis intervention.
Crisis intervention team. I was
Lots
totally...
of police.
Yeah, right?
You like
On the issue of gay marriage, Callahan says he struggled with the issue for quite some time and recently voted against a change in wording that will allow same-sex couples the same benefits as opposite married couples. Cordova said she would have voted for the change in wording and has agreed to support the interests of her LGBT constituents if elected. Cordova currently has the support of the Dallas Gay and Lesbian Alliance, the Dallas Green Alliance, and the Stonewall Democrats of Dallas, while Callahan has raised about $20,000 more than her, so it doesn't really matter what they say on the issues. I mean, this is politics, right? As well as received endorsements from the Dallas Police Association, the Apartment Association of Greater Dallas, and all of the neighborhood cats. For more information on the Neighborhood Cats Association, you can check out their Twitter page at Cats for Callahan. This is a real thing. The cats spent a lot of time on this. It's Callahan. You can look it up. Cordova is against the toll road. Callahan is for the toll road. With being one of 2 districts with a city council member up for re-election and 6 seats that are being vacated, this is set to be a major turning point for the future of South Dallas. And seriously, how often do you get to say that? Josh?
Thanks, Stephen. Cat meme generator, Stephen Gardner, everybody. And now we've reached the southernmost region, right here at District 8, where senior researcher Joseph Gilbert has a report he'd like to share with us. Joseph, come on over here.
Thanks, Josh. I'd like to begin with the history of race relations here in Dallas.
Joseph, these people do need to get back home eventually tonight.
Well, if I go through half of this, I'll be done in about 2 hours.
You have 5 minutes, and that includes election coverage.
All right. Slavery, Jim Crow, lynchings, white bankers paying off leaders in black churches,
That was a
KKK Day. Yeah, more
KKK
lynchings.
Day at the state fair.
That was good.
Also a thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, candidate citywide rejection of MLK.
Also a thing.
Yeah, bombings.
Also a thing.
Let's see here. White flight resulting in the most segregated school district in the nation. And the current unemployment rate, which hovers around 40% for blacks compared to 10% for whites.
I never thought I'd say this after hearing all of that, but well done, Joseph.
You know, there are currently 6 candidates vying for the opportunity to represent District 8, the southernmost portion of the city. It makes up about 15% of our land mass and only accounts for about 2.5% of our city's private sector jobs. But what it lacks in usable, developed land, it does make up for in abandoned parking lots, an enormous landfill, and it looks like it's just big enough to hold most of our city's trash and all of the Cowboys' Super Bowl hopes.
So who are the candidates then?
Ooh, one candidate, Clara McDade, actually worked with the NAACP as an executive board assistant, and now she's running again for District 8 after already holding the position way back in '05.
Seems pretty qualified.
Yeah, except for where the money's concerned. She doesn't have any donations, according to campaign financing.
But the amount of money she's raised hardly seems like a qualification for office.
Josh, do you even follow local politics?
No, that's what I have you guys for.
Okay, well, for now, I'll just say the other. Well, for now, I'll just say she doesn't stand a chance. Let's just put it that way. But I do have this other report on campaign finance I can show you here.
You have 4 minutes left. All right.
Okay.
Hi there.
All right. But for now, I'll just say she doesn't stand a chance. Anyway, so someone who does is Diane Gibson here, a.k.a. Miss Community, a former K104 guest. She's already had over $11,000 in campaign contributions, according to the
A
filings.
woman of the people. I hear she was actually a host there, not just a guest. What platform is she running?
Well, couldn't really tell you, Josh. Like most of the candidates, her website was completely lacking in any of the issues. But rival frontrunner Sabrina Lynn Brenham actually did have some opinions. She was very vocal. She's a 3-time city council member. She's hoping to shut down adult video stores and stop Koreans from monopolizing the beauty supply industry.
Wow, okay. I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
No, Josh. If you want true race baiting, you're going to have to look at Eric Lamont Williams. The former Nat Geo photographer. He's running in order to repair the damage from slavery, Jim Crow, and racism.
Lofty goals for a city council member.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is the man who, while in Africa, and I quote, brought light to dark places.
How is that even possible?
I'm not very sure, but he does have a very professional YouTube channel, which might have something to do with it.
I guess so.
Yeah. He might have also brought some light to South Dallas, too, had he been living here for longer than 9 months.
Ooh, that's surprisingly short.
It's a little less surprising when you consider the warrant out for his arrest in Georgia.
Actually, I'm more surprised.
On the other hand, major candidate Gail Terrell has lived in the district for about 27 years at the same address.
Okay.
It's just a bummer she was recently embroiled in that corruption scandal amounting to the confiscation of over $100,000, and she's currently using her campaign contributions to pay for her Subway sandwiches.
Jesus Christ, who does that leave us with?
Eric Wilson, a local high school DISD teacher with an MBA in strategic leadership and experience on several city commissions,
All right.
who supports the Trinity Toll Road.
Son of a bitch! I almost forgot about that shit. Where does everyone else stand on this?
Well, Terrell's for it, William is loudly against it, but for the most part, it's not that important to this race.
Really? But aren't the supporters of this plan announcing, the growth to South Dallas is the major reason to move forward with it?
Perhaps, if you're talking about the Dallas lawmakers comfortable at 1500 Marilla, but if you're living in an area where the poverty rate grew 75% in the last 2 years, and the leading cause of death for half of the youth is murder, you've got some bigger issues on your mind. This is a campaign focused on jobs and crime, and those issues are informed by the decades worth of racial strife that has dominated the city, and particularly this sector.
Okay, so I'm beginning to see why you needed the whole report at the beginning, because it's a historically black neighborhood that is now split 50-50 between blacks and Hispanics, but all of the candidates are African American, and they've couched their campaign rhetoric in decidedly black and white terms, which is troubling when you consider, according to the mayor's anti-poverty study, Hispanics are the Dallas's largest victim of poverty.
Oh.
It's very complicated.
It is. I have actually another report on that, actually. It's right here.
But you are out of time. Senior research junkie Joseph Gilbert. Let's put this away for right now. Maybe get on to some less depressing stuff. So now our journey around the city begins to bend westward with a report from Allie Worley in District 4. Allie?
Hi, thanks Josh. Woo, sorry guys.
Oh, it's all good.
It's been an exciting race in District 4. Over 50,000 votes have been cast.
50,000? Holy shit.
That's
Already?
right. And now the moment we've all waited for has arrived.
No, but election day is still on May 9th. What are you
District
talking
4's
about?
newest resident, a baby giraffe at the Dallas Zoo, has been named Capenzi. Thank you.
Okay.
Born famous at 5 feet 10 inches, Capenzi, which means loved one, in Swahili, will soon be making outdoor appearances. Let's hear it for tall ladies, everyone.
Allie, now you know I got nothing but love for the tall ladies, but I was also hoping for a report on the actual election.
Oh, that one. Well, I thought Zoo News was maybe more interesting, but
Probably.
we can talk about that one too.
Okay, cool.
Dwayne Caraway, well-loved city council representative for District 4, will be termed out this year, leaving his seat open for the taking. Throughout his time on the city council, Dwayne Caraway has worked to address a variety of District 4's main issues and concerns, including jobs, quality of life, crime, urban blight and decay, and the guidance of at-risk youth. 8 different people are vying for the spot. Mr. Caraway is endorsing Carolyn Arnold, a school teacher whose platform is community-based and aims to bring your voice to City Hall, which is concerning because adult giraffes have voices too low for humans to hear, which makes me wonder about Capenzi's future.
Try to stay on topic, Allie.
Right. The other 7 contenders include Carl Hayes, a lawyer and ex-municipal judge, D. Marcus Ranger, a retired attorney, Sandra Crenshaw, a somewhat tempestuous former city council member, James Ross, a research chemist, Kiara Sanders, an anti-police brutality activist, and Linda Wilkerson Wynn, a community activist. Oh, and one more, Stephen Christopher King, who may be a life coach or may be unemployed.
Probably both.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Whichever of these candidates is elected will have to contend with the fallout from yet another failed development project, Patriots Crossing, which was recently foreclosed after the city sunk over $4 million into a contractor with no experience.
I'm beginning to see a pattern here.
I know, it's like giving the monkey cage a batch of fresh shit and expecting to get out without corn in your eye.
You know, I take back what I said earlier. You cover the zoo as much as you like.
Thanks, Josh, because there's actually one more thing that I wanted to mention. Portions of the Dallas Zoo adjacent to local streets were identified by the Texas Department of Transportation as necessary for the future Southern Gateway I-35 improvement project. And on November 12, 2014, the City Council, led by Councilman Caraway, granted an exchange of over 1,700 square feet of park land to the Texas Department of Transportation. We can only hope this didn't come out of Capenzi's roaming area.
Wow. I guess the denial of adequate housing space to the residents of District 4 isn't just limited to humans anymore.
Indeed. The next sitting council member might be able to do something about the housing of humans and giraffes alike. We'll just have to wait and see if anywhere near 50,000 people show up to vote for this one.
Senior tall lady Allie Worley, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for that report. We now turn to Sarah Hamilton with a special audience interactive report out of District 3. Sarah?
Thanks, Josh. The biggest lesson I've learned this election cycle is that you can't trust the internet.
Right.
Especially not to tell you who to vote for. As I embarked on my journey to investigate the heated...
The speaker got turned. Can we move the speaker a little bit? There we go. Oh, hey.
Oh, we good? All right, there we go. As I embarked on my journey to investigate the heated race for District 3's City Council seat, I was shocked to find so little internet buzz about this pertinent municipal issue. It's like no one cares about local politics or something. What? District 3's City Council seat is being vacated by Vancial Jones-Hill, and there are 5 candidates fighting to fill her place. After doing some digging, I am pleased to report that all 5 candidates do in fact have websites. The quality of said websites is not particularly impressive, but they all do feature at least one picture of their candidate, a red, white, and blue color scheme, and a link to donate.
How about their platforms, Sarah?
Josh, I can confirm that all candidates seek to improve education, economy, neighborhood safety, and quality of life in District 3.
Well, that's good to hear.
I think so too.
Yeah. So, how do we tell the difference between them?
Well, Josh, as any good millennial will tell you, all you really need to know about a person can be derived from their online presence. So, I have compiled an exacting analysis for each candidate based on their websites. The results, I think, will enlighten you. And the best part is, you can follow along on your phones as we go. First up, B.D. Howard. Go to electbdhoward.com. Based on his simple Just the Facts website, I conclude that Mr. Howard is a straightforward, no bullshit kind of guy. There is a distorted picture of the Dallas skyline at the bottom of his page, suggesting that he either has a great appreciation for Expressionism and its affiliated artists, or that he is willing to support Dallas citizens of all shapes and sizes.
Either one of those sounds great.
His website is purportedly powered by Weebly, which makes me wonder if he's going to advertise support from just anybody, no matter how silly they sound. Next up is Joe Tave. Check out joetave.com. In the picture on his site, Mr. Tave is wearing glasses, so he's definitely smart. His name takes up half the page on his website, which makes me wonder, what is he compensating for? He has a Facebook and copyright on his page, so he definitely has something worth saying. His donation link, though, is powered through PayPal, which indicates fiscal irresponsibility. I mean, don't they charge exorbitant rates for credit card transactions? Yeah, right? Next up is Winnie Cannon. From her pictures, Miss Cannon is in fact a woman. The confusing thing about Miss Cannon, though, is that she has two websites, WinnieCannon.com and electwinniecannon.nationbuilder.com. I find this very troubling. Which is the real Winnie Cannon? Is she the type of woman whose homepage would feature a slideshow with blurry images of herself at political events? Or is she the type of woman who would have a judicious headshot as the center of her homepage? How do we know which is the real Winnie Cannon? Until Miss Cannon exhibits some solidarity in her web presence, I think she's not to be trusted. Next we have Gerald Britt. See geraldbritt.nationbuilder.com. His red, white, and blue scheme is by far the most saturated of all the candidates, so he's definitely the most patriotic. He is prominently endorsed by the Dallas Morning News, which made me worry that he was a curmudgeon stuck in the historic age of printed newspaper. But he does feature websites on his homepage, only candidate to do so, so I think he is, in fact, a man of the future. He has replaced the A in his name with a star, presumably for artistic appeal. It does tug at the heartstrings, but could perhaps confuse the simple reader. Jer Storl Britt doesn't really roll very easily off the tongue, you know? Lastly, there is Casey Thomas. Casey, despite having a girl's name, is in fact a man, as indicated by his pictures. Mr. Thomas also has two websites, but unlike Miss Cannon, it seems that at least one of them is operating without his consent. KCEThomas.com seems to be the website he would have you visit, as it sports a picture of his impressively color-coordinated family. But KCThomasForDallas.com is either a reverse psychology move by Mr. Thomas, or he actually wishes it didn't exist. This KCThomasForDallas.com features a photograph of Mr. Thomas with Von Ciel Jones Hill and a plea to vote for anyone but Casey. The website contains little else except for links to documents regarding an investigation of Thomas by the NAACP after he was accused of unauthorized use of their funds in 2008. Now, before we jump to any conclusions, let's remember what Taylor Swift taught us. Haters gonna hate, 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 hate. And if Mr. Thomas is the victim of cyberbullying, he either has something really important to say, or he is just a huge asshole. Either way, you're gonna have to look somewhere other than the internet to decide. Back to you, Josh.
I'm not sure what I just learned, Sarah, but I sure learned it hard. Sarah Hamilton, everyone. And now we move down to West Dallas, where Aaliyah Tavakolian has a report on District 6. Or at least, I thought she did.
Joshua, it has been a day.
Oh.
Someone told me I should stop in at West Dallas to prepare for this.
So I started the day off at this adorable little place called Trinity Groves, where we ate brunch at Resto Gastro Bistro.
Wait, what?
A Retro Gastro Bistro.
One more time.
Joshua, restroom gas flow, bleep flow. It's darling. I knew I needed to stop and pick up a new rhinestone handbag in the Asian Trade District before looking at my penis sofa that I had on layaway in the Design District.
They have a lot of those.
Before taking a dip at King Spa, where I would jump into one of those wonderful pulsating healing pools. But
There's a lot of
before
white people there.
I could do any of that, Joshua, I got lost coming out of the parking lot. Suddenly there were all of these rundown homes and barking dogs and small children. Apparently it's a neighborhood called La Bajada. I don't know.
Sounds like District 6 has a lot of conflicting interests. What can you tell us about current councilwoman Monica Alonso?
Well, Josh, only what she says about herself, which primarily consists of a bunch of generic nouns. Open communication, infrastructure, safety and security, positive results achieved!
It's terrifying. And it seems to run contrary to an article I read by Jim Schutz recently.
As far as I can tell, for whatever reason, Alonzo is a doormat for the development interest. And doormats never bring anything good out of a developer.
Wow. That's true. What are our other options for District 6?
My name is LaColia London, and my campaign is called the Poorest of the Poor People Campaign. I don't want people's money. I want their votes. I also am living off disability and have no experience.
Okay. Who else?
My name is Daniel Caldwell, aka DC for D6, y'all.
So, am I rightly assuming by the black tie that you are in fact a Mormon, DC?
Spanish-speaking Mormon, Joshua. The only one in the entire world.
I believe that.
I want to kill the toll road, and I want to work on water supply, and I also want to reform the homeless shelters, having once been homeless myself.
Wow, yeah, surely he is the most interesting candidate yet.
My name is Chief Ozumbalinic X, and I am here to represent my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and to tell the truth as well as I know it.
I stand corrected. I didn't realize the guy who shows up at city council meetings wearing actual chains was running. Again. What else should we know about Chief Ozumba?
He punched me in the mouth, I shot him in the back.
Aggravated assault?
Charged, not convicted.
Anything else?
My real name's Adam Woods.
Fascinating. But what does all this mean for the voters of District 6?
Very little. What would mean something is resident-only parking signs in an area where rapid development is colliding with one of Dallas's most historic neighborhoods, or maybe even fighting against the traffic signal at Herbert and Singleton that will turn those little side streets into a quick shortcut for the people who are coming from uptown to eat at Wristwatch Gastro Beet Soup, or whatever the that place is called.
I believe it's called Luck, actually, and it's the best that I can wish for the residents of La Bajada. Senior multiple personalities correspondent Aaliyah Tabacolia. And that is every contested district in the city, so I hope you all feel as though you better know a neighborhood, because I think that went great. So give it up for all of our bar politics news team.
Whoa.
Oh, hey, Bailey, I'm sorry, I meant to tell you, we had to cut your piece on District 2 for time. This is awkward.
What the f? I mean, we aren't in District 2 yet.
We are, but there's not actually a race going on here. We just wanted to do this at Twilite Lounge because they have awesome karaoke on Thursdays.
Yeah, but I actually talked to my District 2 Dallas City Councilman out in Madrona.
Wait, you can do that?
Oh, yeah.
You mean these are real human beings and not just fodder for poop jokes?
Josh, if I've learned anything from covering city politics, it's that you can be both.
Okay.
Madrona's got a lot on his plate. You know, dealing with drunk people in Deep Ellum,
Oh.
trying to be heard all over all the planes flying over Love Field, and, you know, dealing with the second largest library in the nation.
We have the second largest public library in the nation?
Yeah, I mean, well,
I didn't know it was that big.
where else are you going to keep all the homeless people? I mean, Madrano's been very active in the school system. He's been a member of the DISD Board of Trustees. And every single school in his district has a higher passing rating now that he's been in office.
Wow, how often do you get to hear good news out of DISD?
About as often as you get a public official to actually talk to you.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
So when you did talk to him, what did he have to say?
Well, I was texting, on the phone, and emailing with him, which was quite awesome.
Okay.
And I asked him 3 simple questions. What he planned to achieve during his next term, what he did achieve during his current term, and what he failed to achieve. Some of the things that he did achieve were revising the City Family Ordinance Act, which allows males to be able to take leave when their female wives have given a child. Right. Also, transgendered health benefits, which, of course, is fucking amazing. And also allowing for the LGBT community to have a designated recipient. And this means that if they have serious health problems, they will be able to use their insurance.
Okay, hell yeah.
Great. Now, some of the beautiful things that he plans to do is revitalize Samuel Boulevard, which really needs to be done. And one of the things he failed to do was revitalize Samuel Boulevard.
Okay. There was one more thing I was hoping you'd cover in this report on District 2, though. Why is it shaped like a f***ed up claw hammer?
You mean, why is it shaped like a banana with scoliosis?
No, I mean, why is it shaped like a distended two-headed penis monster?
The answer is a serious word with serious consequences. Hairy philandering.
I think you mean gerrymandering.
No, I mean scary pandering. Pandering, that is, to the incumbent city council members.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So do you see any chance of this situation being rectified anytime soon? Maybe. Oh, no, he's started chugging his beer now, so I'm going to take that as a no. Senior investigative drinker Bailey Rail. Now, it's easy to see why Bailey might be a little pessimistic about the efficacy of our redistricting process. Dallas city districts are redrawn every 10 years based on U.S. Census data. And that means this map was drawn in 2011 based on data from 2010. And that means when we all go to vote on May 9th, we'll be working within a system that is 5 years old and has over 5 years to go before it will be changed. Meanwhile, we've got people moving here by the thousands every couple weeks. U-Haul recently named us the #1 growth city in the nation. That means we've got more one-way truck rentals coming our way than Brooklyn, more than LA, and more than the parents' homes of liberal arts majors. And if rapid growth weren't enough reason for changing our policy, there's also, the corruption. Because the redistricting commission that decides the boundaries every 10 years is selected by, you guessed it, sitting city council members who'd like to keep their jobs for as long as possible. It's kind of like letting the dogs determine the boundaries of the bark park and then being surprised when it includes a chew toy factory and a cat shelter.
Oh, fuck dogs, Casper Callahan, cat lives matter!
Too soon, Stephen. It's way too soon. In 2014, a charter review commission recommended a long new list of qualifications for future members of these redistricting panels that aim to eliminate conflicts of interest. But, see, that's the funny thing about votes aimed at eliminating conflicts of interest. There's a conflict of interest. And the proposal failed. Which is a shame, considering that this map is most likely not at all in compliance with the Voting Rights Act. In a city where Hispanics make up the largest percentage of the eligible voting population, only 4 of those 14 districts are majority Latino. The dilution of Hispanic votes was so egregious that a lawsuit was filed against the city only a few months after this map was drawn, but Then it was dropped a few months after that when, City Council voted to spend $350,000 of taxpayers' money mounting its defense against the claims. It's another one of those, I'm forgetting the term. Is it confluence of interstates?
Conflict of interest.
Right, cock block of independence. To make matters worse, the one thing the 2011 map had going for it was the recently drawn Pleasant Grove district, the first time it hadn't been completely sliced and diced, in order to finally give this a district all to itself. A district which, since 2011, has still not elected a non-white city council member. It's nearly as egregious as this nation still not having elected a female president. And that's not to say that simply electing an official whose ethnicity matches the majority of their constituents means they'll automatically be looking out for their best interests, because as we've seen in the case of Monica Alonso in the neighborhood of La Bajada, that assumption can be woefully untrue. It's a bit like assuming I'm doing this out of some sort of civic duty and not just an attempt to get laid. But for whatever reason, I am looking into this, so much so that I went to a mayoral forum to ask the candidates themselves about their position on this issue. Mike Rawlings agreed with me that the districts as they are drawn do not adequately represent Dallas neighborhoods. And in doing so, disagreed with himself 4 years ago when he was fighting for this map to be voted in, and went on the record saying this.
I'm pleased with the outcome. This just confirms that the redistricting plan approved by the City Council increases opportunity for minority representation. It's my belief that the future will see a majority of minority representation around the horseshoe.
To be clear, the best possible outcome for Hispanic leaders in this election cycle would be 4 seats. And there's the chance it will only be 1. And this is far from the only shift to occur in Rawlings' rhetoric from being a first-year mayor to running his second campaign, because there's also that issue of campaign finance. You see, up until a few weeks ago, there was a tricksy little loophole in the rules on how city officials could be funded from contributions, because if you're running for a public office, then there is a limit of $5,000. But if you are an office holder, you have an office holder account into which the contributions can be infinite. It's like giving former Super Bowl champions the added benefit of, say, deflated balls and a cheating coach, and then being surprised when they win again. Now, in February, Rawlings took action on this issue, coincidentally, a few weeks after challenger Marcos Ronquillo called him out on it. But here's the thing. That office holder account still exists, and you still can put as much money into it as you want, but only $100 of what's in there can be put towards your campaign. Which is kind of even scarier, because if that money isn't going to paying for, like, yard signs, then what the is it for? The answer may lie in looking at who has been donating into our mayor's office holder account. Well, let's see. There's oil man Ray Hunt, who gave $30,000. John Scovell, an associate of Hunt's, who also spent $15,000. There's John Adams, founding father. He's the director of Trinity Industries, and he gave $16,000. Omni Hotel investor Robert Rowling with another $15,000. And tax lawyer Brent Ryan, known for finding large corporate loopholes, who, along with his wife and children, gave $66,656 because, if he gave that last $10, it would just be a little too on the nose. And now, what do all of these guys have in common?
They're all men.
Okay, well, yes, that is true. That not quite the point that I was.
They're all white.
Yes, also a great point.
They have more change coming out of their slot for the Vegas casino.
All excellent points, but there's one more thing that all these gentlemen have in common, and it's the subject of our next segment. Sideman Ray? Take to the tollway, won't you lend me $10? Cause that's what we gon' pay if no one gives any. You see, the dream team, they done planned it. Brought it from 6 lanes to 4. They say it's gonna be meandering, but that's not what was approved by the Corps. But you know that we'll pay it, child. Paying for a city toll. Now, I know, we're all tired of hearing about this. We already did a whole fucking episode on it, but there's actually been a lot of important updates in the last month, and it centers around something the mayor is fond of calling the Dream Team.
Oh shit! The Dream Team? Oh, the Dream Team! Oh! I'm talking CP3 at the 1, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the 2,
Okay.
a Harlem Globetrotter at the 3, a Live Goat at the 4,
All right.
and at the 5, the best power forward in the game, Dirk! Oh! Sports!
That's an excellent Dream Team, Chris. But what we're actually talking about is a group of Canadian planners and designers led by a guy named Larry Beasley.
What's his shooting average?
Chris, did you hear me say they're Canadian?
Stupid.
But regardless of free throws, the Dream Team did come up with a new plan for the road that seemed to bring back the spirit of the Parkway as it was planned in '98, a meandering road running through the park for free, nothing more. And the response was effusive. The Dallas Morning News reports, Larry Beasley just killed the toll road. That's how I imagine all of the Dallas Morning News headlines. It's a lot more fun that way. It's the moment of compromise that we all were waiting for. But see, that's the funny thing about those moments of compromise, is that you can end up waiting a long time. Because in the subsequent City Hall meeting called specifically to discuss the new plans, a bright new future for the park suddenly seemed so much further out of reach. Because while everyone remained superficially supportive of the idea, there were no actual plans to enact it, just to keep evaluating it further. And there also was this vote about killing the alternative 3C, the $1.4 billion tolled road that never stood a chance. Because how could it? We've already seen Rawlings has some substantial cash flow riding on the backs of construction interests trying to make money off of this thing. As he himself said, referring to the Beasley plan, we've just met this beautiful woman, but I'm not ready to marry her yet. And how could he? He's already married to a big, ugly lady named Private Contracting Interest, who, in a reversal of traditional gender norms, spent over $1 million on a big old rock for him. This is how politics works in the city of Dallas. Campaign contributions determine elections which favor incumbents and those who seek to serve the moneyed interests. Once in office, the public officials continue to shift the rules to ensure the balance of power rests in their favor, whether it's drawing these district lines or handing over huge contracts to friends and donors. It's how we get debacles like Behar Street, Patriots Crossing, the fucking horse park that we didn't even have time to cover in this shit, and a toll road. And all of this is allowed to happen when we don't take an interest in the decisions being made. Now, we here at Bar Politics aren't here to tell you who to vote for. And the fact is that you can only vote for the council member in the district that you live in, and if it's anywhere around here, there's a good chance they're unopposed. But you all can and should let your voices be heard in the mayoral race, and perhaps even more importantly, pay attention to the campaign promises being made by all these candidates and keep track of whether real work actually comes of any of them. We'll be here at Bar Politics trying to make it funny for you. But in case you're still looking for more resources in between the first Wednesday of every month, there's another guy who does a hell of a job keeping up with this shit, and he goes by Wiley H. Dallas, and he's our next guest. Now, Wiley is an anonymous but very vocal social media presence who utilizes a burgeoning Facebook and Twitter following to shed light on goings-on at 1500 Marilla. We can't be sure of any direct connection that he has to City Hall, but he has been hired on as a head writer for the Front Burner blog of D Magazine, all without ever revealing his true identity. He even managed to schedule this interview without ever actually meeting me. So I'm not really sure what happens next.
Josh, I think it's time the truth come out. I'm Wiley H. Dallas.
All right.
No. I'm Wiley.
Wait. Okay, guys.
Please, you know I'm Wiley H. Dallas.
All right.
I'm
Wiley H.
No,
Dallas.
I look like Wiley H.
I'm Spartacus.
You were Leah. I'm Wiley H.
Patty, it's Wiley H. Dallas.
Wiley H. Dallas, please stand up.
Silence, mortal.
Wiley? Wiley, is that you? Wiley?
Are any of us getting one, really?
Okay, good philosophical point, but, are you the one who runs the Twitter and the Facebook and all of that? Wiley?
I'm so confused.
Is it really you, Wiley? How can the people be sure that it's really you?
Well, how about you check and see?
On your Twitter, maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe. Wow. I'm terrified already. So Wiley, so what is life like as a spectral cyberspace being?
Well, Josh, it's the usual. Just stabbing necks and cashing checks.
Okay.
My life is very complicated, to say the least.
Oh.
Because I occupy multiple spaces and engage with multiple people simultaneously.
Wow. Is it lonely living on social media, or does that make you feel even more connected to the people of Dallas?
Josh, I am actually very connected to the people of Dallas.
Okay. All right.
Plus, I am allowed to engage in intimate relations with individuals representing each one of the city's 14 city council districts simultaneously. In addition, I'm allowed a 15th partner who represents the city at large.
Wow. So are you sad you won't be able to vote?
In the words of the late, great John Van Buren, I vote early and often.
Voter fraud. I like it. Do you feel as though you can affect more change on real-world politics as a bodiless social media figure than as an actual individual?
That's a great question. It really depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
As a student of Plato, I subscribe to his theory of forms, which states that non-material, abstract ideas possess the highest and most fundamental kind of reality. Thus, the fact that I lack a corpus gives me certain advantages when it comes to orchestrating a free market of competing ideas. It's liberating and exhilarating to be able to debate ideas without the distraction of personalities or human form. However, when it comes to implementation, being a coast carries with it real disadvantages.
And what are some of those disadvantages?
Well, the biggest disadvantage is it makes it difficult to pick up shifts. That's number one. The second is that it precludes actually engaging in the hard, bureaucracy kind of work that is required to really build a city that we can be proud of for generations to come.
And what's some of that difficult work that you'd like to see done, or at least started, in the next 4 years?
Well, I'd like to see us build, build a city that matches, our aspirations. That's, what I see.
Okay. And so in your time as an elusive internet commenter, what have you been most proud of accomplishing?
A couple of things. One is I feel that I've played a small role in helping to attract an entire new class of citizens to the discussion as to how to build a great city and run it. And the second is having the opportunity to engage in one-on-one dialogue with some of the city's best and brightest as we debate best paths forward.
Okay. So I was really excited for the chance to get to talk to you, Wiley, because, one of the biggest and best things that it seems you're doing to me is really combating this lack of transparency in City Hall right now. And you do it by creating this completely opaque persona that sort of mirrors that. So I just want to ask you, why is it that you've chosen this form in which to engage with us all?
Well, I've got a question for you, Josh. Who was your first guest in this bar politics program?
It's a District 1 Councilman Scott Griggs, Wiley.
Right. I've heard of Mr. Griggs. I saw something in the paper the other day. Isn't he facing something like 10 years in prison on a felony charge for losing his temper?
I think it was something like that. It all seems very confusing, though.
Yeah. Well, so there you go.
You're right, Wiley. I think that does say a lot. So, what, if any, kinds of changes would need to occur for you to maybe, shed your mask and your voice scrambler?
Well, at my heart, I'm really a whore. So, untold wealth, a large harem of women, those are both things would be possibly entice me.
Okay, so maybe something that we as the voters could do. Actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's possible. I mean, couldn't that be done by referendum? I don't know.
I'll have to look into it, but until then.
Well, I mean, I think, like a lot of people, a vision of a better Dallas, a city that would exist to serve its people rather than exploit them, a city that celebrates human life rather than suffocates it, a place where we can live, love, and raise families in harmony and maximize our human potential. I believe that Dallas can evolve through changes in its physical form into a place that equitably mixes people of different incomes and ethnicities, races, and ages, and mixing land of different uses and buildings of different architectural types. One of the problems Dallas has is this physical fragmentation, compartmentalization. And I believe that, what we aspire to is a culture that is where people mix and we create something that's more significant than our individual private worlds, and that there is a direct structural relationship between social behavior and physical form. Good design can have a positive impact on sense of place and community. But if we want to change things to change, we have to be engaged. And I already see a lot of great things happening here, and I see many people in the audience tonight who are the ones bringing these changes.
Oh, really? You see us? That's also terrifying.
Of course.
So,
yes, Josh, you look like you've put on a couple pounds, by the way. Have you not been working out the last couple of weeks?
I'd like to think I was, yes. So, who are some of the candidates that you see as maybe being able to achieve this kind of change that you're talking about?
Well, there's a few. I mean, I don't want to go through all of them, but in District 3, we've got Jumpin' Joe Taves. Mm-hmm. District 9, we've got Bad Man Mark Clayton.
Okay.
In District 10, Jolly James White.
All right.
And we've also got, what's her name, Sexy Sherry Cordova. I mean, yeah, there's, there's candidates that are out there. But I would encourage everybody to make their own choices. I don't profess to speak for anyone.
Okay. Maybe any other
I think,
thoughts?
well, yeah, I do have. I mean, these are the individual council races, but the big one, obviously, is the mayoral race, right?
Yeah.
Would you like to know who my
Yeah.
endorsement is?
I think we all.
Wait a minute.
Oh!
Wait a minute. He's an imposter.
Dallas mayoral candidate
It's Dallas. It's me.
Marcos Ronquillo. You're Wiley H. Dallas? What? Wow.
Damn right.
That's incredible.
Well, not really. I wanted an opportunity to give the grand vision and share with you poverty statistics, and talk about meaningful meandering parkways.
But
in our neighborhood.
unfortunately, we're out of time. I'm sorry, Marcos. But let's give it up for Wiley H. Dallas and special surprise guest, Dallas mayoral candidate Marcos Ronquillo. Ladies and gentlemen, he's going to be here answering questions. So buy that man a drink. Buy us a drink because we just gave you a show for free. Signing off for Bar Politics, I am Josh Kumler.